everyone, it's Jonathan. Welcome to a brand new series that I guess I've decided to call Every Fairytale Ever. This is basically every version ever, but with a focus on fairy tales and less rigidity of sticking to one story at a time. Every Fairytale Ever will be a series I go in and out of here periodically like I do with Wonderland Wednesday, but this is probably going to be the main content over on Every Version Ever for the rest of the year because I have a lot planned. Of course, as such, it will be coming up a lot here too, in between all the other things I have planned. For now, Every Fairytale Ever will mostly just stick to a handful of well-known fairy tales, in this batch specifically 3, but in the future I want to branch out and cover all kinds of lesser-known stories, myths, and fairy tales from all around the world, some of which may only have ever been adapted once or twice and probably wouldn't ever even have enough to warrant a whole dedicated podcast series. This current batch of episodes started as another series on Cinderella. Back when we covered Cinderella like a year and a half ago, we mostly just stuck to Disney and Disney-adjacent episodes, like the iconic Disney version of Cinderella and its sequels and remakes, and then also the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, all 3 filmed versions of that musical. However, my original plan was to go much longer with that series because I had a lot more versions I wanted to cover, and I'd even started recording them at that time, but I ended up having to pause and move on to something else, and by the time I decided to bring it back, I'd already been thinking about covering a lot more fairy tales, so I decided to expand the series beyond just Cinderella. In the future we'll go into more obscure fairy tales, but I figured I'd start out with something that most people would be familiar with and go with the big 3 princesses popularized by Walt Disney: Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. Like I said, we covered Disney Cinderella in the last batch, but we'll be doing a lot more than just Disney this time around, though there will be plenty from them as well. We'll be going all over the place, as I usually do, from low-budget schlock like Filmation's animated Disney Snow White ripoff, to big-budget Hollywood blockbusters like this year's Disney live-action Snow White remake. But don't worry, we won't only be covering box office bombs, we'll also be doing the good stuff like Disney's original Snow White. As usual, this series will run the gamut and is going to be one of my longest yet. I originally thought about just doing 3 series in a row, moving from Cinderella to Sleeping Beauty and then finishing with Snow White, but the more I thought about it, the more I decided I'd rather just mix things up and keep it interesting, going back and forth from week to week. Plus, I have several TV shows that I'd like to cover that had episodes covering multiple princesses, and I figured for most of those it kind of makes more sense to do one episode and cover all 3 stories. We've talked about some of these shows before. I did an episode on Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater with Callum from Once Upon a VHS, and I did another episode on Happily Ever After Fairy Tales for Every Child with Jenna and Eli, and we'll be covering the Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty episodes of those, and hopefully some other shows later on that we've never touched before. Jenna and I have also been talking for ages about covering Disney's Descendants, which includes elements from all these stories and more, and while I haven't decided if I want to fold all that into this current series, in the future, Every Fairy Tale Ever will be the perfect place to cover something like that. Other than Disney's Descendants, the other things mentioned are all things you can look forward to pretty soon. Plus, in addition to Happily Ever After, Jenna and Eli also joined me to talk about an obscure anime series from the 70s with versions of all 3 stories, so that will also be up soon. It all depends on what I'm able to get edited right away. I also have a completely unrelated miniseries on Wallace and Gromit I'm working on, as well as some Disney movie marathon episodes, so we'll see what I'm able to finish first. I always have way too many irons in the fire. Either way, there's plenty to look forward to in the coming months, so we'll see you soon for Every Fairy Tale Ever. Thanks for listening.